So good evening. My name is Rita Ebi. I'm a software tester, ISTQB certified. Next slide, please. So I'll be talking on introduction to software testing. So we'll be starting with what is software testing. As you can see on the screen, I've tried to narrow it down to this basically by saying software testing is the process of systematically evaluating a software application to ensure it functions as expected and meets user requirements. So basically, software acts as a safeguarding. It ensures that software is reliable, secure, and meets its needs of its user before it is launched into the real world. It involves executing the software with the aim of finding errors, gaps, or missing requirements compared to the actual design or functionality. So as a software tester, what is expected of us from the title or from the name is basically carrying out a check on a software, on applications. So in the course of this, I'm going to be using different analogy just for us to get a clearer understanding of where software testing is. So by testing software, developers and testers aim to catch bugs early in order to reduce risk and to ensure the overall quality of the application before it is released to end user. So basically, you can see there it says developers because we are going to be working in a software development life cycle, and testing is essential in software development life cycle to ensure software reliability, security, performance before deployment. So as a software tester, what is required of us is to basically look for bugs, look for defects, look for issues, because in the course of development, there's bound to be a defect. Believe it or not, there's bound to be a defect. And if you are looking at it from a layman's perspective, if you are not a certified tester, let me put it that way, you will think everything is fine with the application. You will think once you look at the software, oh, it is fine. Even in some well-known companies that it's even already in existence today, even I, as a software tester, can go on a website and I can still find a bug. Fine, it might not be an issue in terms of priorities. It might not be a big issue, but I can still say, you know what, this is a cosmetic bug, or this is not much of a priority of a bug, but there's a bug. And bugs can also arise at different times. So what I'm trying to say in essence is, it's inevitable for after a software or a software application is being built for it to be bugless or for it to be bug free. So it's kind of almost impossible for a software applications that has gone through a development life cycle to be bug free. So you as a tester, this is where you come in to check the functionalities, to check if it's working as expected, if the current behavior is what is expected of it, if it's performing as it should be. So in the course of this, I'm going to use humor analogy, but if you have attended the previous classes, I think I'm just going to use the analogy whereby the business analysts were using, the business analyst was using a bank app. So say, for instance, you have come in as a software tester and a bank app, a bank software application has just been developed and you've been given to test. Now, once that application is built, you as a software needs to come in and as a software tester needs to come in and test that particular application. Why? What are you looking for? There are n number of reasons of why you should test that applications, because there's an expectation of what is expected of that software application to exhibit. There's a behavior we are expecting from it. Now, you as a software tester, you will have the list, you will itemize all that. In a layman's language, now this is me trying to explain it. Obviously, you're not going to, there's a documentation, but what I'm trying to say is there's something you're trying to figure out. If it's working as expected, what is the actual behavior? What is the expected behavior? Because currently it might be giving you something that is not expected.
Obviously, it's working, but is that what is expected? So, which by the time we go deep into this, you will kind of know the difference between actual and expected. And there are also core aspects of software testing, amongst others, which is the verification and the validation part of software testing. So now for the verification part, we are talking about, is the software built correctly? And for the validation part, we are asking, is it the right product? Is the right product being built? Now, don't get confused with what I've just said. We have verification, we have validation. This is why I said you can take notes. Now, the verification part is for you to verify if if the software has been built correctly. Now, you will then come back and then verify it to see if the product that was built has been built rightly. So there are two different things. You are checking for design expectations, which is the verification, if it has been built correctly. Then the validation part, you are now checking if it meets the user needs, if it meets the expectation. Fine, it's been built. Has it been built correctly? Oh, fine, it's been built. This is the design we want. Is it the proper design that we want? Is that what we were expecting? Oh, yes, this is what we are expecting. Now, is it performing as expected? So these are all what we look for as software testers. Amongst others, then you also go ahead to do types of testing, but that will be done in the course of the internship. Next slide, please. Thank you, Julia. So I'll quickly go into why software testing is important. Why do we test? Now we've heard the what is expected of software testers, what we do, what it encompasses in a nutshell. Now, another analogy before I go into why software testing is important, I'll use the human life cycle, for instance. So basically, what I say all the time in course of my teaching is we are all testers in our day-to-day lives, in what we do daily, in terms of depending on whatever we are trying to achieve for that day or for that moment. Okay. In a process, in a situation whereby as a mother, you're about to feed a child, like a toddler, and you've prepared a meal that is piping hot. Now, there's difference between piping hot and room temperature. Now, even when as parents or as adults, you will read some food ingredients or how you should use it. They will say, make sure you warm it, it's piping hot, then allow it to cool before feed. Now, the food is hot, that's fine, but then you have to wait for it to be at a certain temperature before you can then consume it or before you can then go ahead to give it to that toddler. Now, you as a mother, if you give that food to the toddler while it's piping hot, what do you think will happen? And sometimes, even as a mother, before you feed that child, you can on your own test it and see the temperature, if it's okay, if it's lukewarm, if it's the right temperature for you to feed the baby. By the time you are convinced that the temperature is all right, then you will go ahead and feed the baby. So having done that, you have just tested if the food is in the right temperature for you to feed the baby. Now, let's flip it back. What if it's not in the right temperature? What will happen? The baby will definitely get burnt, get scarred, things like that. So let's bring it back now to the ITs, to the software circle. In a situation whereby the software doesn't get tested properly, or it didn't cover a total test coverage was not done, a thorough test coverage was not covered, what do you think will happen? Hence the reason why we talk about why the importance of software testing. So one of the importance of software testing is early bug detection. Early bug detection, it helps to identify issues early in the development process, reducing the costs of fixing them. Because if you are able to identify this properly, it will avert a lot of things even resources and cost effective and things like that. So especially before it goes live, bug left unidentified can cause critical failures in the real world application, leading to system crashes, data loss, or financial damage. Because I use this analogy again, for instance, this is just to help us digest what I'm trying to say. So, for instance, we all know McDonald's, and you are trying to get something from McDonald's online, or even when you use the self checker, and you're clicking on hamburger. Now, your expected result is to get an hamburger at the end of everything, but you're not getting a Big Mac. Yeah, you will be disappointed because what you wanted is hamburger, but you are getting a Big Mac. So this is why we should test. Now, if you then, maybe it happened once, it happened second time, it happened the third time. Would you would you use that services again? No. Then you then know that, oh, these people or the McDonald's, their online services is not effective, is this, is that, things like that. Thereby, the trust has been breached. So you would not want to use their facilities again. You would not want to use their services again. So that's one of the reasons why we test, to ensure that our software applications are bug free. Now, another reason for testing is to ensure quality assurance. So testers ensures the software meets the quality standard required for development, leading to higher customer satisfaction. Because without good quality assurance, it boils down to what I said before. A lot of things will go wrong because improving, let's say in quality assurance, for instance, like I used the McDonald's bit, let's talk about performance testing, improving performance, because the performance testing will help to ensure the software performs well under load and respond quickly. Because if everybody, because at the same time, 100 or 200 or even 1,000 people could be um, buying the same particular item. Maybe 1,000 people are on Amazon at the same time, the same, or buying the same product, even if not the same product. But the fact that 1,000 people, so all these things are essential for us testers to watch out for, to look out for. Is the application able to carry the load? What is the capacity? So all these testings are to be, they go into place. That's, you put it in place. You have to ensure that the load performance has been tested. We also have stress testing, but I don't want to go too deep because there are different types of testing. And trust me, it's not done by only one tester. So you don't need to know everything, but there are essential ones that is required of you as a tester to know. But the performance testers are strictly done by performance testers. So ordinary testers might not or may not carry out a performance testing, because except you've been trained to carry out a performance testing, you might not be required to do so at your workplace. So, but what I'm trying to say in essence is there are different phases to it. So there's performance testing as well. That's where it comes under quality assurance, which it has to be tested, because imagine everybody is on Google at the same time. We have 1 million people Google. So all these things are in place. They have been thoroughly tested, because if not, the system will crash. So the load responds quickly, thereby provide a smooth and user experience for end users. And then we also have risk mitigation. So I've only put down these three, why it's important to test, just these three amongst others, because there's more than just these three to why we test, why testing is important. And so um, for risk mitigation is to maintain reliability. Through testing ensures that the software behaves consistently and reliably across different environments and scenarios. So, and risk mitigation minimizes the chance of software failure in production,
reduce business and operational risk. And it also helps us to avoid business loss, because bug in production can lead to system downtime, like I said earlier, and loss of revenue and damage and company's reputation. So all these things are to be considered whenever a software application is being built. So that is why a software tester is always required wherever there's anything to do with software application being built. You will definitely require a tester to test it. So, and this helps us to ensure that the product is stable and secure. Next slide, please. So what does software testing entails? So I put down these in bullet points amongst other things that software testing entails. So one of them is requirement analysis. We also have test planning, test cases. So basically, this can also be classified as the roles and responsibilities of a software tester. And because essentially this is what is expected of you as a software tester, to understand your requirements. So I'll quickly touch on them. For requirement analysis, you have to understand the goal of the software. That's the project you are working on, what it is, what you are supposed to do, what the software application is, what is expected of it, the goal, what you want to achieve from it. And testers use this to create their test cases. So based on your requirement, that is how you will create your test cases. That aligns with the objectives of the software project or application that you are working on. Secondly, we have test planning. So in test planning, this is when you define the strategy and the scope of testing. This is a whole topic on its own that will be taught, because test planning is essential, because in a case whereby as a software tester, you are required to know how to write a test plan, because you could be the only tester in an organization, and you need to have this as a guide. It will help you in the course of your um, 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 executing your test cases. So scope of testing is also required during your test planning, include what will be tested and how it will be tested. So all these will be required in your planning, and who will perform the tests, and the stage that involves determining the necessary resources and the tools required and the deadlines, because sometimes you have deadlines and you have to meet up with the deadlines. So as testers, all these things, you have to put them in like a roadmap that will help you throughout the software development life cycle. So all this needs to be in place, and it has to be documented. Then we also have test cases, test cases development. So in this part of it, this is when you write a clear and concise, detailed test cases, which are done step by step procedures, and it helps to define how to test the specific functions or features, and what is included in test cases. So data, input of data, and your expected results and your actual result, like as I said earlier. So this is where you have the documentation of what you are testing. So for instance, if you are working on a particular feature, on your documentation, this is where you will state how you want to go about it, and what is the actual results, and what is expected of you, what is the expected outcome, what are you expected to see after taking all these steps. So all this will be taught. It's easy, to be honest. Writing test cases, we don't say write test case. So if I'm to use the terminology, we say we design test cases. But in a layman's terms, you are writing it though. But if you are to use the terminology, we say design test cases. So basically, it's just after a good understanding of the requirements. If you notice from where I started from,
the requirement analysis. So once you have an in-depth understanding of the requirements that has been given to you, you would then use that to design your test cases, thereby making it very easy for you to execute, which is the next stage. Because once you have your test cases written well accordingly in the right steps, it will help you to execute your test case, running and performing the test according to the test case. Then we have the defect reporting. So with the defect reporting, this is after when you found a defect. So as a software tester, you are expected to find bugs. Obviously, as a software tester, you should find a bug because that's why you are there. So if everything is fine, then you are not needed. So when issues or defects are identified, they are logged or reported to the developers. So the good thing is we as the software testers, after we detect or identify all these bugs or defects, we don't fix them. So you then have to log it or report it to the developers. Then testers provide, as a tester, you are expected to provide a well-detailed report with evidence such as screenshots. So whenever you find something that does not align, that is not right, that is not in the, that is not the current behavior that you are seeing is not what is expected. That's the actual behavior of the software is not what is expected. You take a screenshot. Even when it's the right one, you just have to have it as your evidence. Now, make it as an habit if you are a tester. If you find a defect, you have to back it up with an evidence. And even when it is working as expected, you still need to prove it that, yes, when you tested it, it was working effectively, it was working accurately, it was working well as expected. So hence the reason for screenshots or videos or steps to reproduce. So because your steps to reproduce, whenever there's a defect, you need to have a step to reproduce because when you say there's a defect, your test lead, your developer, or any other person that will be that this particular issue has been logged, reported to, we have to replicate it, and then we have to follow through the steps that you took that made you got that result. So when they replicate that steps, they have to get the same result that you are getting. Now, if you have not written a clear and concise report that will help them reproduce those, replicate that defect that you have raised, it will not look good. So in such cases, that defect can be rejected. That bug can be rejected. So that is why as a software tester, you need to know how to write a clear and concise and effective defect report. Then I'll quickly touch on retesting and regression testing, which is also part of it. After defects are fixed, testers, you have to retest it or re-execute the test case to ensure issues have been resolved. And in some cases, regression testing has to be conducted to verify any changes having negative that have negatively impacted other parts of the software. Because sometimes when a bug, I don't, I'm trying not to go into too much teaching, but yeah, when a defect is being found, you have to then retest it again after it has been fixed. And thereby when it's been retested, you don't have to test some features that might have been affected as a result of the defect being fixed. But don't get confused about it. It's so simple. During the course of the teaching, you get to understand it more. And then we have lastly test closure. So after test is complete, a report is generated to summarize the results. So what do we have in our test closures? A report that all test cases that are passed or failed, any defects that was found or fixed, any issues that were unresolved. So this will help stakeholders to make informed decision about software readiness and release. That's the reason for an effective test report results. Okay, we'll move quickly to the next slide. Thank you, Juliet.
Okay, I've touched on this on the previous teaching, but I'll quickly touch on it for those that were not part of the last class. So who can be a software tester? So I said ideally anyone can be a software tester. So why did I say anyone can be a software tester? Next slide, please. Um, so as a software tester, if you have all these soft skills, it will help you to become an effective software tester. Now, anyone with the right mindset, skills. When I say mindset, I mean define your own success, can go attitude, you are ready for it. I'll use myself as an example. The first time I got sold to IT, I didn't look back. Because why? I've always looked for something like this. This was, even though my background was banking and finance, and I have a bit of background um in computer science. But when I say computer science, we all know what it looks like back in Africa. You are doing computer science, but you don't even have access to computer. So if having said all that, I still didn't have that. I can't say I have IT background, never, because I can only do basic things like everybody else, you know. But just by knowing that I wanted something like this. Why? Because I just want to be on my own. I just want to do my stuff. I don't know. I mean, we are different, but then what I'm trying to say is when I got sold to IT, I didn't look back. Now, if you have that kind of attitude in terms of with what we are trying to with what I'm trying to say tonight, trying to get you to understand what software testing is and the urge, those are the kind of things you need. So you need to be hungry for it. You need to be thirsty for it. That's what I'm trying to say in one word. So anyone with the right mindset, with the skills and the willingness to learn can become a software tester. It's as easy as that. The role requires analytical thinking, attention to detail, problem solving, abilities, and effective communication skills. And with the right training program like this, I said the right training program because there are different platforms, but with the right training program and certification, you can successfully, and even from any background, diverse background, we'll go into that. You can work as a software tester. You know, you can transition successfully into software testing and build a rewarding career. So now, to start with, you need to have the passion and attitude, like as I said. So if you have that passion and attitude, trust me, you can be a software tester because you need to be hungry for it. You need to really want it. A good tester should have a passion for quality and a commitment to ensuring that product meets high standard. What do I mean? With what I've said earlier, you want, because as a tester, I think I've said it over and over. There's always a fulfillment, but I mean, it boils down to automation. Because we as software tester, whenever we write our codes, and when I say we write our codes, it's not that deep. Trust me, it's not that deep. When I say we write our codes, there's fulfillment once you run your test and it passed. It will look as if you have achieved the whole world. You will celebrate every little success. That's how fulfilling it is. It's so I don't know the word to use now. It's so satisfying. Let me put it that way. It's just it gives you joy when you are a tester. When you carry out, when you find a bug, and if you get what I'm trying to say. So all these things, if you are doing the what you like, what you enjoy doing as a job, that's just what I'm trying to say. So as a good tester, you should have all this in you. You will take pride in your job, like as I said earlier. You get that fulfillment in you and be dedicated to deliver products that meets or exceeds customer expectation. You just have to be optimistic. You have to be curious. You know, you have to be productive, motivated to contribute to the service. So all these attitudes, you just need it. So if you're coming like a lackadaisically, it's not going to help. You, like as I said, you just have to have that mindset, like, you know, I want to be this thing. The more I go into it, you will see how rewarding and interesting it is that if you have not thought of being a software tester, after tonight's teaching, you should consider it. Now, secondly, verbal and written communication, the ability to articulate thoughts and express ideas effectively using oral or non-verbal communication, to instruct, to inform, to persuade others, because you're going to be working in a cross-functional teams, you're going to be working with others. And when I say others, because in the software development life cycle, if you are working in agile environment, for instance, you have to work with your developers. Definitely, as a software tester, you'll be working with your developers, and you need to be in a good relationship with your developers. You'll be working with your BAs, you'll be working with your scrum master, with your project managers, so you have to have a good communication skill, both verbal and non-verbal. Then we also have analytical skills. So when I say analytical skills, you should have the mindset of how to think out of the box. Yeah, a problem solving skill. Yeah. And ability to dissect problems, So this is where your curiosity should come in, um, the ability to dissect problem and issues, making decisions, applying the right approach or process to effectively solve or enhance any given circumstances that you may find yourself as a software tester. And next, you need to have this keen eye for details, attention to details, ability to identify issues, those little things that you might see. Even sometimes in the course of the teaching, when we talk about defects, there are some things you might find, even as a tester. They might not be bugs, they might not be defects, but the fact that you noticed it is part of it. You shouldn't miss anything as a software tester. Nothing should go past you. I sometimes, when I want to joke with by some of my colleagues, I tell them when I analyze some things, they will say, "How do you know, Rita?" I will say, we testers, we are like bebo. I don't know how to put that in English, but what I'm trying to say is, yes, we kind of go overboard. We want to know, we don't that why thing. That why thing is always there. Why is this thing like this? Why is that? You're curious about everything, So that makes us to go extra mile as testers, because ordinary tester will just test the food and go. But you as a tester, when you test a particular food, you can analyze it and say, you know what, this food lacks salt. This food lacks volume, which is Maggie. This food like this, things like that. Oh, there's not enough tomatoes in it, or there's not enough pepper, there's not enough seasoning in it. So that's how we are as software testers. We go extra mile, even though I've used an analogy that we do testing in our day-to-day activities. But as a software tester, as a certified software tester, you are meant to go over. Yeah, that's what sets us apart from other testers. Yeah. Like my husband would say, he's a food tester. Yes, but I am a software tester. I'm different because we go extra mile. We want to don't be scared. You will break the software, they will fix it back. But that's you trying to find out something. And in your course of doing that, you will definitely find something that will be rewarding. And that's what gives us joy as software testers. And lastly, time management. Yes, you have to prioritize your time wisely, goal setting, planning, deadlines, and starting early is one of the key things for us as a software tester. That's one of our watchword, because we've had all these issues of when do you start testing? Testing starts as early as possible, right from the beginning, from static testing. From once the documentation, the requirement is ready, that's when you start testing. Yeah. So these are the soft skills that is required. Even if you don't have any of them, trust me, you can work on some of these things that have been mentioned here, and you might even have them. I think the only thing that most of us don't have, which I'm also guilty of, might be time management, but not in terms of work. But in terms of your work, you will definitely meet up because you will start early and you will meet up with deadlines. The only time you might not meet up with deadlines is when you have blockers. And that must have been logged in. Everyone must have knew about it. You're not keeping it to yourself when there's an impediment. So these are terminologies I'm using now. When there's a blocker, when there's a showstopper, that's different. That has nothing to do with time management, with you not meeting up with deadlines. That's because there's an issue. So, but you working on your own time is something you can always work on as a software tester when it comes to the job aspect of it. Next slide, please. So the technical skills required are computer literacy, like as I said earlier, which is not much, as basic as it can be. Uh, you are not expected to know too much to be able to become a software tester. The ability to use computer and related technology efficiently is good enough to go. It can be as basic as knowing how to just navigate through websites, you know. And secondly is for you to design test cases, which you will be taught here. Um, how to create your test plan. You'll be taught here. That's a whole topic on its own. And then we have manual testing and automation testing. So you can also be a manual tester with the little you know. And if you want to progress more and earn more money, then you go for automation. But if you are like, oh, I'm scared, I don't know how to do this. If you want to stay with manual testing, you will still earn enough money as a manual tester. Uh, Next slide, please. But all these will be taught here. The technical skills that is required will be taught in Blue Sky. So the tools that are used by software tester are Excel, Azure, DevOps, Jira, Confluence, Sharp, Java, SQL, API, Playwright, Cypress, and Teams for communication, amongst others. Next slide, please. Our time is fast spent. So where can I work as a software tester? So as a software tester, you can work in all these. I've listed this amongst work is maybe um, IT related companies or things like that. No, you can actually work anywhere as a software tester. Now, gaming industry. In gaming industry, whereby they develop games and things like that, the development studio that creates video games and things like that, they need testers to ensure their products are bug-free and provide a seamless user experience. That's for gaming industry. And even online gaming platform, testing is also crucial for multiplayer games or online platform where performance and security and user experience are paramount, like as I said earlier when I was talking about performance testing. So like in gaming industries whereby 1,000 people are playing one particular game at the same time. So you need to check the load performance. So that's where the testers come in, amongst other testing that is required. Before these games are played as well, they are being tested. So even if you type it, there are jobs out there. I came across so many of them during my course of trying to get a job. So you will see a lot of companies that you don't even expect them to require testers. But that's how vital software testers are. We are so crucial. We're pivotal. Um, so we also have government defense. You can work in government defense as a software tester. Yes, as a government agency, public sector organizations. They rely on various systems for managing public services and data and operations. So software testing helps ensure that systems are secure and reliable. Companies that develop software for defense and aerospace systems also require high level of software testing for safety, performance, and compliance with defense standards. So we also have e-commerce and retail. I'll just touch on them quickly. For the e-commerce platform like Amazon and eBay, the online retail platform require testing to ensure smooth and shopping experience, So we also, in order to also secure transactions, exactly. That was why I also, to secure transactions and efficient logistics. And then even healthcare industries, yes, you need testers because they need companies that will develop their electronic health records. It's called EHR, electronic health record. And you also have other system medical devices that is required. So they need testers to test all these things for them. They need testers to ensure that their products meet strict quality and safety standards. So it as a software tester, you can also work in financial and banking sector,
telecommunications, media and entertainment, even non-profit and NGOs and educational institutions, even betting shops, betting companies. You can work there as a software tester. And it doesn't stop there. Maintenance and update is required at all times, even when these software applications are being built. You are also required to remain there because updates are being done, maintenance are being done, and all these things, why they are being done, like that's where regression comes in or retesting comes in, because the update can affect something that has been working perfectly before, thereby requiring you as a tester to now retest it again. So we are always required. Don't say, even when they finish building it, they will need us again. No, they will need us. We are always there. We have to be there because they need that continuity. It needs to be maintained. It needs to be sustained. So that's why we software testers are highly required in every organization, all all the time, which means we are still needed all the time. Uh, Next slide, please. Okay, I'll quickly touch on these names of software tester roles. So I've listed just a few here, and sometimes it depends on companies. Some give it different name, different title, to be honest. Yeah, you hear different names, to be honest, but this is just amongst others. You can imagine you be called Ronke, the QA tester, Habib, the test analyst, Larry, the software test engineer. Sorry, I can't check you guys' names, but I'm just calling random names. You coming out telling your friends, oh, so what do you do? I'm a software engineer. Oh, where do you work? Even in Blue Sky here, a lot of us, we have people that work in JLR. Now, who can tell me what JLR is? Is it JLR? Is that the right acronym? That's a Jaguar Land Rover. We have people working in Amazon. We have people working in Five Guys. We have people working in even NHS. In Blue Sky here in the advanced team, we have a lot of people working in the range. We have different, just name it, that you would not expect that people are working there. So these are all the names that you get once you are applying for a test lead. Is a higher position, and test manager, of course, is a higher position, but these are some of the names you will come across in your course of trying to secure a role. Next slide, please. So what you gain at the end of the internship: requirement analysis, create test plan. You then know how to design your test cases. You know how to set up your environment, which is your framework for automation. And you then know how to execute test cases. You know how to write your defect reports, automation testing, how to work effectively with others, which is collaboration, how to, documentation, professionalism. You will learn it here. Your talking will be different. The way the way you start interacting with people will be different, trust me. And your English will be different. Yeah. Yes, you get CV review here, test report as well as self-development. Yeah, that's all what you will definitely gain here and more. Next slide, please. So I've just this is for today, but trust me, it varies and it changes and it depends on companies, and it also depends on your level of experience. So for the 37,500 is manual, trust me, and even as a manual tester, you can also fall into that 47,500. But this is, as of today, this evening, that is what I got. I didn't have enough time to scan through most sites. And he's saying the average is 47,500. But trust me, it can be as high as that and it can be lower. It depends. And it depends on the organization as well as the job spec, as well as the wherever the job is. And trust me, you can be in UK and be working in America, Saudi Arabia, Dubai, name them, Qatar, and all the rest. I think we have few people that work across the globe as well. We have few people in America that have joined from America and they are now working in America, while some are living in America and working in the UK, obviously remotely. And yeah, next slide, please. Thank you. I'm so sorry I went over, but thank you.
Any question, please?